last week's subject on spiritual authority, and we differentiated that there's authority on the earth as a father and a mother and so on, and you have spiritual authority as a son and a daughter of God. And this is the authority that you need to use as you pursue the things of the earth and your destiny. And as we pursue our call and as we exercise our authority on the earth, what I find is many times that we allow the storm to stop us, stop our momentum. We allow the difficult situations around us to stop our momentum in finding our destiny, in pursuing the call of God, in pursuing your career. We allow the obstacles of life to slow us down. And I want you to know that we have to become people that are persistent and resilient in what you believe in. It's like in the world, if you want to pursue your career, you cannot stop when you don't have money. You make a plan. If when I started, I never went to university, but I made a plan. I went and worked and I studied and I got my qualifications and I continued and pushed through. But sometimes as Christians, we forget how to fight for what we believe in. We forget to be resistant. We forget to have that authority inside of us. And when you start to use, this is what spiritual authority is about. Spiritual authority is not about your circumstances. It's about what God put in you. It's about accessing a spiritual ability that you yourself cannot do. And you must understand that you must push forward. And many of us do not understand the kind of authority that God has given us because we never stepped off that boat. We never stepped into a place where we cannot rely on our strength. We don't know what that feels like because we're always in control. You're always in control. You will never know what your spiritual authority is unless you step off that boat and walk in a place that your strength cannot help you, where you have to be totally dependent on God. And many times in our life, we allow the situations around us to dictate to us and we stop. Don't stop at a storm. We must learn how to push through. We must learn how to surrender to God and allow Him to work through us. Many times we miss our breakthrough because we stopped. We were distracted by the storm. When the Israelites, when they came to the Jordan River, the purpose of the Jordan River was to put fear into them. That's why it was the flood season. The enemy ensured that he put an obstacle there. And they allowed the Jordan River to override the voice of God. And it blocked them and it forfeited their destiny. But I want to tell you, that day, they could have stepped into their destiny. But an entire generation lost their destiny because they didn't know how to push through. Many of us lose our victories right at the end. The enemy will only come and stand his ground when you are almost there. You've been fighting God. You've been fighting the storms. You've been standing and you've been trusting God. And you're almost there. Don't give up. Just keep pressing through. Just keep trusting God. They trusted God for so long. They trusted Him. They complained. We complained. But we still walking. They were still walking. God took them through the desert. They were right there. And they gave up. It doesn't mean that you're acting in your spiritual authority that everything is just going to fall into place. There must still be that persistence in your spirit. There must still be that authority inside of you to push forward and not be moved by the storms around you, because the storms are always going to be there. The storms will never move. And so when I read through the Bible, I pick up two stories that really minister to my spirit about that anointing, that pushing through anointing. And one of it is a baby called Perez. And another is Jacob. And the Bible speaks of these two incidents that I want to go through, which I'll just to explain to you how it is to believe in what God called you. Don't stop dreaming. You see, the problem is we stop dreaming. Once you stop dreaming, you got no more fight in you. It doesn't matter what authority you use, but if you don't believe it's yours, it's not yours. You see, Saul gave up the fight. Saul stopped believing that he was the king of Israel. That's why he never had the authority to overcome Goliath. If you give up on what God told you is yours, no prayer No prophet in this world can pray you into that destiny. You have given it up. You gave up the right to walk in that blessing. You must never stop believing in what God gave you. You must believe it till the very end. You must have that authority and that persistence, that tenacity in your spirit to push through. Otherwise, the enemy will just take away everything. That's what he did to Saul on that battlefield. Saul just gave up. Saul forgot that he was the called and chosen of the Lord. If God really chose him, why would he abandon him there? And so when we read in the book of Genesis chapter 25, from verse 24, it speaks of Jacob's mother giving birth. And we pick up from verse 24. So when her days were fulfilled for her to give birth, indeed there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red. He was like a hairy garment all over. So they called his name Esau. Afterwards his brother came out, and his hand took hold of Esau's heels. So his name was called Jacob. Now I want to, that spirit of Jacob I want to speak about today. That spirit inside of him, that character of Jacob is very important. What he did, it tells me that it was in him. That destiny. You see, his brother was the firstborn, but he never stood with the inheritance of his father. Jacob took it away from him. But it tells me even at birth, Jacob knew what was his. And he never gave in. Yet, the natural flow of birth put him second, but he knew he was first. Maybe sometimes in life, your circumstance puts you second, but you must know that God put you first. And you must be able to fight. He didn't want to accept that. You see, Jacob didn't accept it even in the womb. He said, you may have the upper hand here. Your positioning was correct for you to come out first. But I still will hold my birthright. And he was holding on to that heel. It tells me of someone that was not going to give up for what was his. And we give up too quickly. We just surrender to the enemy. We just say, enemy, you know what? I understand my finances are not good. I'm in this situation. That's who I am. I'm just going to surrender to it. What about the fighting? What about standing up and saying, I will still take what is mine? And you find that spirit in Jacob flowed through his life. Many years later, when he was a young man, even there, he refused not to get that inheritance. He still believed it was his. And many times we think that, everything just fell into Jacob's hand. Everything just worked out. All the cards just played correctly with him. No. Jacob had to fight for what was his. God never fought for him. God never went to his brother and made a deal. Jacob went and made a deal because it never left his heart. Though he was second born, but he knew in his heart he was the carrier of the mantle of his father. If you truly believe what is yours, you don't let life steal it from you. Even if life has the upper hand, you fight this life. You fight the situations. The problem is when a man and a woman gives up, when you stop believing what is yours, there is no more fight in you. You can't blame God for that. God gave you that ability. He gave you that authority, that spiritual authority to fight it. But there must be a standing up in you. If depression has taken control of your life and squeezed out all your joy, you need to stand up and you need to take it. You need to take it. You cannot sit down and say a wishy-washy prayer and expect it to be done. You yourself inside of you must believe that it is not yours. This is how you exercise spiritual authority. And Jacob never gave up. Jacob never sit and say, well, you know what? Things never worked out for me. I'm just meant to be second born. I'll just submit to my brother all the days of my life. No. He said, I will take it because I believe that I am carrying the mantle. I am the mantle carrier and I'm going to take it. And he made sure he got it. I don't know where your life is. I don't know where you started. What circumstance you were born in. What circumstance you find yourself in right now. But if you sit there and say, it is what it is. I hear people say that. It is what it is. That's a lie from the devil. It is what God says it is. It's not what it is. This world cannot change and forfeit what God has put inside of you. You must believe this thing and you must walk in it. If God said you will live, you will live. And when cancer comes to knock on your door, you command it to go because God said, I will live. Stop saying my cancer. Stop saying my arthritis and my blood pressure. You're claiming something that is not yours. Jacob never said, I am second born. He said, I'm firstborn. And I'm not giving ages to children here. My daughters, I'm not giving ages. I'm just speaking what Jacob did. Don't let your circumstances change anything. When I got married, there was divorce in my family. There was divorce in our bloodline. There was violence and alcohol in our bloodline. I had to come to a place where I said, this is not what God had for me. I had to take authority over it. I had to cancel what is not of God. It's time that you cancel the circumstance around you. You must learn how to cancel the circumstances before you can walk in the destiny of God. You cannot be a millionaire if your surroundings are controlling you and telling you that you are a poor person and you're going to walk in lack all your life. Your mentality needs to change before you can walk in the fullness of God. The circumstances has controlled the mindset and made you believe that you are meant to be alone, that your marriage is meant to be this way. We just need to live it. Your finances are meant to be this way. It's never going to change. But that's a lie from the devil. God said, I will bless you, pressed down and shaken together and overflowing. It's time that you believe that and then you start to act in it. This is Jacob. And you find Jacob never allowed life to overtake him. This man always faced problems. But look what he became. He became the father of the nations of God. You see, greatness comes through persistence. Greatness comes through revelation of who you are. I cannot tell you who you are. You need to know who you are. Greatness comes through a revelation of who you are and then a standing and a possessing of that greatness and that revelation in your heart. If you think that you're a poor person, you can never walk with millions because your mind will rob you of your destiny. If I take R1,000,000 and go and give it to a beggar on the street, he will blow that R1,000,000 in a week or two. He wouldn't know what to do with it because his mind is not rigged up to handle that blessing. And many of us want God to bless us, but we allow the storms of this world to rig our mind in a different direction. So when God comes, we don't know how to handle it. When we look in the mirror, we forgot that picture. You see, if the Israelites still remembered who they were, when they reached the Red Sea, the talk of the giants would not have power over them. The problem is they forgot who they are. They forgot why they left Egypt. I want to ask you a question today. Why are you sitting in church? Why did you leave this world for Jesus?